I played Springtrap for 5 nights straight, studying under one of the best Springtrap players in Dead by Daylight. I learned the best builds, the best add-ons, and his most powerful playstyle, but I also learned that I had been playing Springtrap completely wrong. On the surface, Springtrap seems like a pretty simple killer. He has a big axe and he can walk through some doors. But the reality is 99% of people do not know how to use his abilities correctly. Have you ever fired up a game of Springtrap where things seem to be going well? I mean, you're winning chases, you feel like you're controlling the map, and then boom. All 5 gens are done and you're left wondering how survivors finished all the gens so quickly. Well, Springtrap can pull you in and make you feel comfortable, like you're doing well. And if you're not using his abilities correctly, the game can slip away from you without you even knowing. It took me some convincing to even want to master Springtrap. Like, I don't think Springtrap is a strong killer, and I've never played the FNAF games. I just rented the movie like 2 days before he was released into Dead by Daylight, which turned out to be a complete waste of money. Not because I didn't like the movie, but they added it to Hulu like 2 weeks later. That's $5 down the drain. I was on the fence, so I called up Stalkedd for a little bit of advice. Yeah, remember that guy from the Mastering Ghostface video? Well, he also happens to be a P100 Springtrap. Stalkedd has spent hours and hours grinding Springtrap to P100, but I couldn't understand why.
His power on the surface doesn't seem that great in Chase because people think his axe is just a weaker version of the Huntress's, but it actually has a lot more versatility than the Huntress, and if you're able to play with it, you're basically unstoppable in a chase. There's really nothing that can counter you, and he has infinite range with his map pressure, right? So his doors allow you to literally TP across the map. He's someone that you really got to put a lot of time into. You might not be able to pick him up perfectly on the first try, but the more you put in, the more you get out with him.
When the call ended, I said, screw it, I'll just master Springtrap. I figured this would never be a killer I would really resonate with, but looking back on it, I was completely wrong. Springtrap in theory should be a pretty simple killer, but it's kinda easy to overplay him if that makes sense. Like his doors, for example. His doors are his form of map control. You walk up to a door and select another door on the map that you want to go to. Seems pretty simple, right? Well, it's a little more complex than that. It's easy to get distracted by the cool control room that you walk through, but it actually takes a lot of time to teleport. I found myself spending all this time walking door to door while precious generators were popping. And yes, you do get undetectable when coming out of doors, but survivors are also notified when you're on your way. It's very minimal, but it's like a flashing light on the door. You also have the chance to snatch survivors who are also using the doors, but survivors rarely use doors anymore. So when should you use your doors? I'll let Stalkedd explain this one.
Yeah, so I think for anyone saying that you should overuse or underuse the doors, I think you should only use them when they're right in front of your face, ready to help you out. I think the doors are more or less helpful. For me, the biggest use I have with them is when I genuinely don't know where survivors are, I'll use the doors to just patrol gens. Or in the end game, I use them to patrol exit gates. They're kind of like a helping hand. They're not something that you should maybe necessarily prioritize, but they're there when you need that boost.
So odds are you're probably using the doors a little too much. It can be a great resource, just know it can also be an inconvenience. Sometimes you're just better off traveling the old-fashioned way by foot. With Springtrap, you also have his fire axe, which is really good, but it's also really tricky. Just do yourself a favor and run the help wanted add-on for a few games. That's the add-on that will show you the trajectory of the axe, which will help kind of speed up the process of learning it. And here's the deal, I'm not sure if it's just the fun sound the axe has. Nice. Or just the fact that you have a giant axe, but I felt like I wanted to throw that thing any chance I could. And I think that's fine, especially when you're starting, you just want to learn how the axe works. But just be prepared to rage a fair bit because it does seem like the axe just gets caught in midair sometimes. Once you mentally prepare yourself for these stupid hitboxes, it doesn't seem to piss you off as much. But I would say the axe is more of an anti-loop ability than a ranged ability. If you have elevation or you're at a straightaway, you do have some range ability, but I wouldn't go out there thinking I'm like Huntress or something. Because of the arc of the axe, some people are able to hit these insane shots over the walls at certain tiles, but I'm not one of those people. Don't worry, although it looks really cool, I don't think these crazy orbital shots are necessary to have in your bag of tricks. I would say it's just a slight added bonus maybe. It's also important to understand the other benefits of the axe, like the fact that you move around faster without the axe. perks. Just because you can recall the axe back to your hand doesn't mean you always should. Unless you know you're gonna need it at a tile, you can leave it in the ground for some extra speed. There's another mechanic that Stock taught me about that can lead to some quick hooks.
You're not always going to be able to do this, but this is the biggest tip for when it comes to ending chases early, because they will end in 2 seconds, is getting right on top of the survivor and hitting them with your axe. Because if you didn't know, the axe cooldown is slightly shorter than a typical M1 cooldown. I think it's 0.7 seconds shorter, which can make the difference greatly when it comes to a survivor approaching a window or a pallet. If you get right on top of them and hit them with the axe, chances are 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to just stick on them and just get the pull.
And be aware of your speed. Sometimes it's more important to have the axe in hand. Sometimes it's more important to leave the axe in the ground to benefit from the additional speed. It really shouldn't be hard, but when you're managing everything else in the game, it can be. I was struggling, but I was using random perks. If you really want to succeed with Springtrap, you need to use perks that bring out the best in his power. Springtrap is not the type of killer you can just slap any old build on and have success with. You really need to be intentional with your builds. Stalkedd gave me 2 perks he likes to call the training wheels for Springtrap, and these perks really do work well on him.
I think if you want to make your own builds, it's kind of important to know some of the best perks for Springtrap. So Mindbreaker is a good one, because when you jump from door to door, survivors get like a kind of a warning with the doors. The doors will kind of tweak out and survivors will know to pre-run. So a lot of survivors nowadays are bringing sprint burst and dramaturgy, which basically make it unbearable for you to use your doors. So Mindbreaker kind of prevents that by forcing them to be exhausted. Also, I would say for newer players struggling with Springtrap when it comes to chase, is just use Blood Favor. So Blood Favor is a perk that makes it so that if a survivor gets hit by any means, all nearby pallets are going to be blocked. So I would just advise using Blood Favor, hitting a survivor with an axe, and just catching up to them. Because again, remember, the axe hit is going to be a shorter cooldown than an M1. So you'll be able to make that distance faster while all the pallets are blocked. That's like kind of like the training wheels, I would say, is Mindbreaker and Blood Favor.
Haste builds are popular on Springtrap because he's generally considered to be a slow killer. So if you want to catch people off guard, slap on rapid brutality or batteries included or machine learning and you're in for a fun time. In my opinion though, gen slowdown is a must. Grim Embrace was one of the most effective perks for me, just delaying survivors, getting them off gens to allow some time for me to get into my next chase. That was super valuable. Pain Res and Deadman Switch is a deadly combo on any killer, but it's particularly good on Springtrap. Not only do you get gen slowdown, but you can use your doors to immediately start applying pressure to the gen that gets blocked. Friends Till the End is an interesting perk on Springtrap. His doors make it easy to traverse the map, but it can be a little harder to get the M1. Bamboozle is actually kind of a controversial perk on Springtrap. Like, he does have his axe as a form of anti-loot, but some people still like using Bamboozle. I stayed away from Bam, but it could work depending on your playstyle. One of the most underrated perks on Springtrap is Discordance. Seeing the aura of the generator with multiple survivors working on it is fun on Springtrap because you can use your doors to teleport there and scatter them. With any of the perks I listed, you really can't go wrong, but I found myself using Discordance, Pain Res, DMS, and then either like Mindbreaker, Grim, or Blood Favor in that final slot. Night 2 went substantially better than Night 1. I still wasn't comfortable with his mechanics just yet, but with the support of some powerful perks, I felt like I had a lot more wiggle room in matches. That's the thing, you really need to be setting yourself up for success. And while I love running non-meta perks, I'm not entirely sure that's what I needed on Night 2. Finding perks that actually worked with Springtrap was a huge win, but what really pushed my gameplay to the next level were some of his add-ons. Springtrap has one of the best add-on sets in the game because each add-on almost promotes a different style of gameplay. With Springtrap, there's really not any right or wrong add-ons. It really depends on preference. Foxy's Hook is an add-on I found myself gravitating towards the most. You just throw your axe and then you run through the AoE in order to get haste. You can use it at the start of the match to traverse the map. You can use it at a straightaway to catch up to a survivor. You can use it at a loop. Just know that both you and the survivor are affected by the haste, so be smart about where you throw your axe. I would say Foxy's Hook is a little bit divisive. Like, some people love it, some people hate it. On Night 3, I met another Springtrap main, JRD Carjam, and he absolutely hates Foxy's Hook. He would rather use the Access Panel, an add-on that allows you to throw your axe through doors and have it come out the other side. I'm terrible with that add-on, but it works for Carjam, which again is what makes Springtrap's add-on so interesting. Like, I wish more killers had this type of diversity. Outside of Foxy's Hook, I really enjoyed using Endo CPU. It's similar to Foxy's Hook, but instead of haste, you're able to kick gens and pallets faster. So when you pair up Foxy's Hook and Endo CPU, you become incredibly dangerous at certain tiles. The restaurant menu is another great option because it reduces the retrieval time of your axe by 20%. This allows you to get your axe back faster to throw once again, which is always going to be beneficial. And then you have Loot Bag, and oh do I love this add-on. This add-on blocks the exit when a survivor has an axe in their back, which makes this add-on the destroyer of teabagging survivors. Funny thing about Loot Bag is when you have it on, you don't really need it, but the second you take it off, you have some assholes teabagging like crazy. Oh! But that being said, I still got a crazy amount of value from Loot Bag. Some people still use Bonnie's guitar strings and the Celebrate poster. These used to be two of Springtrap's best add-ons, but they've since been nerfed a fair bit. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of either. With these perks and with these add-ons, things were starting to gel a little bit more. But the issue was I was still struggling to stay consistent. I'd have 2 great games just to get dumpstered by a bully squad right after. I had a game where I felt like I finally got the axe trajectory down, just to miss every single axe shot the next game. It was an up and down night, but by the end of it, I was a little bit worried I wasn't progressing fast enough. So before night 4, I needed to make a call. As soon as I woke up the next day, I got stalked on the horn. I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything left that he hadn't told me about, and sure enough, he had some expert tips he was waiting to tell me.
Also, another big one is using your axe to counter endurance. So let's say a survivor has like dead hard or any kind of endurance status effect. You can just hit them with an axe hit first, whether they're injured or healthy, and get the grab, and it will just completely counter dead hard or off the record or whatever the case may be. Because it's technically a grab and not a basic attack. It allows you to get through that endurance state. Another big one is you can use your axe to check lockers. So if there's 2 lockers next to each other, it would waste a lot of time just checking each one by one. If you were to just throw your axe in between them, it would give you killer instinct on anyone who's in the lockers.
When I loaded into my matches on night 4, I wasn't messing around. I was using my axe to counter endurance. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. I was sneaking up with the pay to win glitch trap skin. You know, hey, I'm not above it. Oh, come on! Day 4 was by far my most complete day, and I was killing survivors by the truckload. Springtrap is really one of those killers you just need to get comfortable with. There isn't any shortcuts of learning his axe and when to use it. There isn't any shortcuts to understanding when it makes sense to use his doors. There isn't any shortcut to knowing when to M1 instead of using your axe. The only shortcut is by watching this video, which obviously I couldn't use. Which reminds me, if you feel like you've learned at least one thing from my journey, make sure to subscribe. It helps out the channel a whole lot, and don't forget to comment what killer you want to see me master next. But going into night 5, I was feeling confident I had mastered Springtrap, but now it's time to put it all together. First match, 4K. Next match, 4K. The match after that, also 4K. That's a trip to Flavortown. Next match, 3K. Still good. After that, 2K. Okay, then just a 1K. And then no K.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.
The losses kept coming, and for the first time ever in my mastering series, I rage quit. It's alright.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw the footage. It's looking a little rough, but you can't give up, bro. You've done so many killers, and this is my second time being here. If anything, I think Ghostface was a much harder challenge than Springtrap because you had to commit to a certain way of playing Ghostface. I think you just need to play Springtrap the way you want to play him, the way Straz wants to play him, and you just got to commit. I mean, he has everything. He has everything, and it's up to you to use it all exactly how you want to.
Fuck. I think you're right.
Maybe you just don't understand how the animatronic works. I think you're going to have to go experience some animatronics for yourself, Stress.
And so I did. People say it's the scariest game ever. Robots try to kill you. All right. Yeah, I wish someone would try to pull up on me. Oh, nope, wrong button. Okay, he's good. He laughed. We're good. Oh! What? What did I do wrong? How was I meant to see that? How do I reserve power? Should I stop checking cameras? Okay, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. We're gonna make it, y'all. We're good. We're all right. 1% power. The night's about to end. All right, we win. What night is it? Night 1. Oh, look, we get a little teddy bear. Nice. All right. We made it. We win. Wow, this game's easy. Oh, wait, it hasn't ended yet. So I actually recorded this series back in late August, so yeah, it's taken me a long time to finish it. I really wasn't feeling Springtrap at all, so part of me didn't even want to make this video. But then I decided to listen to Stalkedd and actually try out the FNAF games. Although they're two entirely different games, playing the FNAF game helped me understand how Springtrap was meant to be played. There's no rigid way to play Springtrap. I think it's safe to say I didn't master Springtrap in those 5 nights. But if I've learned anything from 5 Nights at Freddy's, it's that once the 5th night is over, there's a 6th. I ended up beating FNAF 1 a few days ago, and I got to go see the FNAF Haunted House at Halloween Horror Nights in early September, and as I started learning more and more about FNAF, it really helped me build this love for Springtrap. So I turned my Sadako Sunday series, where I play my main Sadako every Sunday on Twitch, into Sadako and Springtrap Sundays. I guess they both start with an S, but point being is, like, I have a lot of fun playing as Springtrap. In my opinion, Springtrap is one of the most fun killers to play in Dead by Daylight. And unfortunately, it took me way more than 5 nights to realize it.